If you're someone who has made kaleidocycles before, you might wonder, why do we need another kaleidocycle video in the world? And I'm going to explain why. If you haven't made kaleidocycles before, you're in for a treat. And I'm going to provide links to the things that I'm making here. So first, why am I making this video when there's so many videos on there how to make them? And the reason is because all the templates I see out there, they either have tabs that look like this to connect the edges with, or some of them even have the rhombuses continuing to make the connection with. In either case, what happens is you have to have glue on the, you end up with glue on the back of your design. Sometimes that's not preferable. And also I find these a little bit hard to put together. I've never been really happy with the way they put together. So I played around with the idea of adding tabs. Let's see, that's right side up. Of adding tabs instead, and I find that this works really well. Tabs on both sides, so the glue never touches the backs of the design. So on this, I've made it really detailed. Like all the horizontal lines are, you score them and they become valley folds, and all of the diagonal lines, you score them and they become mountain folds. Of course, you don't have to score on the outside of the tabs because that's going to be where you're going to be cutting. But just to go over scoring, you always want a soft surface underneath, and you line things up and you make your score. I tend to like to score things before I cut them out. So yeah, so this is scoring on a soft surface, and then you do all your scores, you cut them out, and you end up with this. You can see the back pattern. You want all of the diagonals in this mountain fold and all of the horizontals valley folds. And you might have to do a little adjusting as you go along, but that's about it. Okay, now there's a couple things I want you to notice here on my template. This says leave out for hinge, so that doesn't get glued down. That's one of the very last things that gets glued down. This says fold behind, do not glue, and I'll show you what that means at the time. And it's got the same thing on the other end. There, I don't have to turn it upside down. And you might notice that these leave out for hinges, this one's on the left and this one's down on the right. So when you're doing your own, keep that in mind. I also put a couple of these stars at the top and at the bottom, just to get you started, to make sure that you don't align the hinges wrong, the same way you can button up your shirt wrong. Okay, so that's what's going on. So here's my cut out folded piece. It's gonna take a while. Gluing takes a while. You don't want to rush it. I use a flat brush, and I'll put my first two together. This one, fold behind, do not glue. So I just fold behind. That's what that is, folding it behind. And you'll see why towards the end when we do the joining. I've got my two stars together. I'll just put glue on the edge of my tab. I don't need it on the whole thing, and it's even better not to put it on the whole thing. And I only put it on one of the tabs. Got my two stars together, and that gets me started. I know that I am lined up just right, and the rest should happen easily. The paper I'm using here, it's a 65-pound, 148 GSM cover paper that I get at Staples. Anything in the sort of heavier weight range, medium heavy weight range, is good to use on these. If you use a lighter weight paper, they won't hold up as nicely. But it's possible, and the important thing is, if you have only one kind of paper, just use the kind of paper you have. See how it works out for you. There's no paper police. There's no rules. You just work with what you've got and try to make it work. So I tend to be patient with my gluing. I'm probably doing this a little faster, a little more quickly, because I'm making a video and I don't want the video to be too long. But still, each time I do a section, I'll hold it. The glue that I'm using right here is Jade 711 PVA. It's a nice white glue. Other nice glues to use would be Elmer's Glue All, not Elmer's school glue. Don't use that. But the Elmer's Glue All works nicely. And also, lately I've been using glue that's called Yes, and it's nice. It comes in a tube and with a nice tip on it, and it seems to work well. But my favorite tends to be a flat glue brush. And the designs on this particular Kaleidocycle are all things that I just harvested from the Adobe Illustrator graphics library. None of these are original designs of mine. Okay, so I'm coming towards the end, or I've got the two more stars that I'll match. I want to pay attention to my directions here. Fold behind, do not glue. So I'm just folding that behind. This one, it says leave out for hinge. And again, I want to make sure that I'm not gluing something together that I don't want to glue. So that's why those two little stars are there at the end. Okay. So there's a few different ways you can get the ends together here, so it creates this nice circular thing. And you know, the idea is hopefully not to be able to tell where it's joined. I can tell a little bit there where it's joined. Sometimes it's nice to put a little bit of sort of cheating a little bit. But you can put, let's see, like a little bit of black marker right there at the edge, so it won't show through as white if you happen to not get it in all the way. There we go. There's a little there and there. I think I did some of that off camera. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, because we had that one that I said fold back and do not glue, you end up with this little pocket. You end up with one on each side edge, and the pockets are lined up so that you can put the tab, that you can bring those tabs that are left out, and you can slide them into the pockets. Okay, so that slides in nicely. And the problem is right now that it's not glued, right? So I want to get glue in there. And, you know, I've tried putting glue right on the tabs before sliding them in. But lately I've been thinking, you know, I've got this nice little pocket there. You see I can make it open up a little bit. So right now, while it's put together nicely, I'm going to just sort of like open up that pocket, and with my flat glue brush, get some glue in there. It's probably going to be a little bit too much glue. I glopped it a little bit. Okay, so that's one edge, and I'm going to just hold that for a minute. Another way of doing it, if you don't have a flat enough brush, is to put some glue on a stiff piece of paper, which you should probably have a little piece of at least, because you've used up some. You've cut this out of a stiff piece of paper. So I've just glued this one edge. I want to glue the other one too. And I don't really like moving this at this point, but I'm going to. First I'm going to get a stiff piece of paper so I can show you this other method of getting the glue in there. There we go. Put the glue right on there. I think I'll put it on both sides. So I just put a little glue on both sides of this paper right there just at the edge. And let's see. It's hard to find my glue joint, which is a good thing. Yeah, that's right there. I'm going to very gently flex it. And you saw that it sort of tried to move away. I'm going to do the same thing. Then I'm sort of going to open up that little pocket and slide this little piece of paper in that's got glue on it, leaving the glue behind. And extra glue globbing out there. And I really do want to hold that until it dries, but I don't need to have you sit there and watch my glue drying. So I'm going to end the video here. And yeah, download my templates. There's one that's blank, one that has this design on it, and have fun.